I'm going to be writing a real advertorial for a multi-million dollar red light hair loss company. I'm recording this intro after the fact, so I've already done it here, but this is a real advertorial that is actually going to be put to use by the client. And the client has paid me $2,000 to write the advertorial as well as a percentage of ad spend ongoing. And I'm just going to have one of my copywriters work with his media buyer to ensure that all the tests are implemented and we actually come to a conclusion on whether or not this is a winner or a loser. Now, I gave the client a huge discount because, first of all, the client has been kind enough to give me explicit permission to post this video and be as transparent with you as possible. That's a big issue at my agency. Most of the clients, I'd say, in fact, all of the clients, are just not down for me to post any sort of information about their business, which is more than fair enough. Second reason I gave him the discount is because I'm going to directly benefit from this video. Third reason is because I am not going to be involved with any funnel development or design. So, really, it's just a couple of hours of work to ship the final draft in a Google Doc. The cool part about this video is that I'm going to show you how I use AI to handle the majority of the work for me. And you're going to see the actual research process I use and not the garbage that most copywriters waste their time on. Second of all, I'm going to show you how I develop angles that actually convert. Third, I'm going to show you the exact framework I use to write advertorials that actually, scale. And fourth, I'm going to show you how I copy chief and clean up the work before I send it off in a final draft for the client. I'm not going to waste too much more time. The only final thing I'll say before we get started is if you want to learn more and you want to see more live writing sessions and you want to just get access to all of my AI prompts, then click the link in the description and sign up for my newsletter. I send an email every single day and it's completely free. Okay, so this is a brand. It's called Kier.com. And as I mentioned before, the founder has been cool enough to let me write this entire funnel with full transparency so you guys can see the brand, the offer, you can see the winning offers, the current ones, etc. So yeah, it's a hair loss offer for men and women. Basically, it's a red light laser cap hair growth system, and they have supplements and stuff too, THT blocker, shampoos, etc., biotin gummies. The hair loss niche is going crazy right now since pretty much 90% of guys under the age of 30 are already experiencing some sort of bald maxing. And it's only getting worse as time goes on. In fact, as time goes on, guys are losing hair at younger and younger ages. Even me, I'm 24 and my hairline's receding. And I know of guys who are 18, 19, 20 whose hairlines are even worse than mine. So it's just getting worse and worse and worse. And as a result of this problem being so big and so widespread and continuously getting worse and worse and worse as the years go on, uh, the offers in this niche are going crazy right now. And I know of multiple offers that are doing millions of dollars per month. In fact, we just audited an account that was doing millions per month in this exact niche. The thing is with this brand is they have amazing products. And I actually got on a call with the founder, which I should have recorded, but I just forgot to. And he explained that they manufacture everything in house. It's an old brand, so they've been in business for like 10 plus years. And they have a lot of heritage and a lot of loyal legacy customers. And what I gathered from my brief research and my brief conversation with the founder was that the quality of their product really trumps, other brands. So if we click on the actual product page, so the quality really trumps all the other brands, but the marketing doesn't quite reflect that. And I spoke to the client pretty extensively in Twitter DMs, and we also had a short call, as I mentioned. And initially, I offered him a full funnel. And for context, a full funnel means an advertorial, a sales page with multiple variations of both of those things. I would also handle the design and development in house with my agency team, and we would charge anywhere from like 15 to 20 grand. And it would be a ton of deliverables. We would also include ad scripts and a bunch of other stuff. After speaking to him, though, like I realized a full funnel doesn't really make sense. And let's go through what he told me. So here's what he said. The only true quote unquote funnel that's close to working is a laser cap versus minoxidil angle. Currently using us versus them style statics and taking them to the advertorial. I reference above, which links to our product page. It's not profitable, but it's not too far away, which might make it the best place to start. And it gets decent spend. We have angles like menopause hair loss for older women that convert but super low spend. The other things that are working are just a handful of long VSL ads to landing pages that are reasonably similar to the video. Eventually, I'm wanting to mirror those top performing videos on Lander even more to see if conversion rate gets a further boost. I also made this funnel which starts with this page. You can look at this and the above us versus minoxidil to see where it starts, but this one has 0 sales So I'm not sure how close it is to working or if we need to completely change it. So essentially, the client told me that he's got a few funnels running, but only one of them is actually close to being profitable. So I guess we'll start there. That makes the most sense. And he sent me the link. So this is a funnel that's close to being profitable. Illumiflow versus Finasteride, new FDA warnings, hidden risks, and what actually works. So just off the bat, like I can already see so many ways you can improve this page. First of all, we're selling how much is the product? Also, I think Illumiflow is just their other brand. But it's the same product. Yeah, it's the exact same product, but they're just driving it to their other domain. Yeah, how much is it? So we're talking about a $900 investment. And one thing that you should always remember, because the first thing I noticed looking at this advertorial is it's pretty short. Like this is what, like 400, 500 words, maybe 1,000 words. And we're selling basically $1,000 product. And the thing is, when you're selling a high ticket product or anything high ticket, the longer your copy is and the longer the customer has to commit to your sales process, the more they are willing to spend. That's why long form VSLs, the ones that, all the affiliates and the Brazilians are scaling, they have such high AOVs because they're long form. That's why when I'm running webinars to promote my Discord community and my course, which is the Cold Traffic Copywriter, which by the way, in that course, you'll learn how to write copy, how to write advertorials, VSLs, how to split test, how to analyze funnels. And we have some crazy wins. Like, let me scroll up and find a crazy win for you. Yeah, like here, this guy. He's wrote 100 advertorials, but he made one of his clients $50 million through the funnels he'd written. And this is my program where I teach you how to do what I'm about to do right now in this video. And the point I'm trying to make to tie everything back together is that when I'm selling this program, it's high ticket. And sure, people might be pre-sold just from watching my YouTube or reading my tweets or reading my emails, but in general, I have to run a long sales process through a 2-hour presentation live or a VSL or a long form sales letter. And those always outperform, a single email with a payment link. The reason for that is simple. When people go through a longer sales process, they are willing to spend more money on your offer. It's very, very simple. So anyway, I went on a tangent. Yeah, so the first thing I noticed looking at this funnel is that it's pretty short. Second thing, I feel like the headline is super weak. And in general, it's like if he really is that close to being profitable, I wouldn't be surprised if a few headline split tests push him into profitability. I've seen it multiple times where you can just split test headlines and become profitable or massively increase the performance and yield that you get out of a single funnel. Another thing is, I don't like the lead. If you've looked into finasteride, you've likely seen stories about sexual side effects, mood changes, and the need to take a prescription pill every single day for life. While some see results, many stop or never start because of health worries or long-term commitment. I don't know, it's kind of like weak. I feel like we can attack this from so many different angles. Um, yeah, I mean, there's a million different angles. If you've looked into finasteride, you've likely, and it's also a little bit too long. I feel like we can come in a little bit stronger and harder with that first line. Like, I don't know, something like, look, we all know finasteride can nuke your testosterone. Or look, we've all heard the horror stories about finasteride. And then bullet points, and I'll just go, I don't know, bullet points. I want to kill myself because I've been taking finasteride. And then like a quotation directly from a customer or whatever. Like, and then just bullet points of those. For example, that's what I'm thinking of off the top of my head. But regardless, let's get back into it. So that's the funnel that's close to working. He also has a funnel that has no sales. Why more men are choosing this $900 at-home laser cap over $10,000 hair surgeries. This is kind of weak in my opinion. Like, first of all, people in this niche know that they don't have to pay 10K for a hair transplant. Like, you can get them done much cheaper. And I've personally looked into getting a hair transplant, and the most expensive sort of option I found, because obviously I wouldn't want to cheap out, was over $100,000. But that was from like the best doctor in the world who has like a 6-month waiting list. And if you pay him 100K, he'll bump you up on the waiting list. But regardless, the average normie is going to get a hair transplant in Turkey for like $1,000. I mean, I'm sure they go as cheap as $1,000 in Turkey. So that headline doesn't really stand out to me. Like, I don't like it because it kind of assumes that like the audience don't know anything about hair transplants, which they probably do because pretty much every guy, when he finds out he's going bald, the first thing he does is go on YouTube or Google and, start searching up like how much is a hair transplant. So everyone knows that they don't have to be 10K, but regardless, this funnel isn't even close to working. So we're just not going to start there. at least not in this video. So anyway, here's the deliverables we're going to go for. So what I'm going to deliver is very simple. First of all, we have this funnel that he says is close to working and has a good amount of spend. So we're going to come up with 2 variations, brand new variations, same angle of us versus them, but just new copy from scratch. Or not from scratch, but just new variations. So 2 of those. And then finally, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this exact page and I'm going to come up. In fact, I might even do that first. I'm going to take this exact page and I'm going to come up with a bunch of split tests and suggestions in a Google Doc that he can implement. So images he can use, headlines. I'll come up with like 5 or 6 new headlines to test. And the goal of those tests will be to sort of beat the control here. And you'd be surprised because sometimes all it takes is one headline test to actually, change a funnel, or maybe changing the first line. But we always want to start with headlines because with cold traffic copy, the headline always makes the biggest difference and it should be the first thing you test. And it's also the easiest thing to test because it's so easy to just change the headline, duplicate the page, and leave everything else the same. And that's another thing to mention. I'm going to make it very clear to the client that he has to test every single suggestion I make. He has to test them one at a time, because if you test multiple variables at the same time, for example, if we test changing the headline and the image on the next page, and then the performance is better or different, we don't know what actually caused the difference in performance. We don't know what created that delta. Whereas if we just, split test a headline here and then split test another headline on the next page, then we know exactly what created the change in performance because there's only one thing that changed, which is the headline. So you have to keep it scientific and you have to run it as a side-by-side control-based test. In terms of the fees, the client has agreed to pay $2,000 upfront, which he already paid, and 10% of spend above $20,000. That means after he spends $20,000 on the assets I give him, I'll be billing him 10% of whatever he spends going forward. So it gives him $20K to spend to get things profitable and test. And then after that, ideally it will be profitable. If it's not, he's just not going to run it. But if it is and he's scaling it, then that's where I would be charging 10% of whatever he spends. So if he spends 100K, then I would charge him 10K. I've also kind of charged him the ability and his permission to use his funnel and his product in this video, which I will benefit from in other ways. So that's why he got such a cheap upfront fee. So what we're going to do first is I'm going to start with research, because research is the most important part of any sort of copywriting assignment, whether you're writing advertorials or ads. It is the most important part. So I'm going to go to the ads library first. And we're going to look at the ads that the client is currently running. He didn't actually send them all to me, so I'm just going to check myself, but still. All ads, Kier with 2 R's, yeah.
I'm a guy who was losing his hair a bit and got a hair transplant. Let me tell you, some people mention this. No, yeah, Tristan, you had a hair transplant. I'm 34 years of age. I'll be 35 soon. Yeah, my hair was thinning a bit. Whatever, I fixed it.
Hair transplants come with high risk and aren't permanent. Most people think they get a transplant and their hair is going to be fixed forever. But if they don't fix the underlying issue, they'll have to go back for a second or even a third transplant.
So this is the pre-sale page that I'm going to work on. That's almost working. And this is the product/sales page. And then they click here and it's, Shopify checkout. Okay. So he has a couple ads running straight to the product page. And I want to see which ads, what are the ads that he's running to? Yeah, they're all running to listicle. It's weird. Interesting. So he's not actually, from what I'm seeing, there are no ads actually running to this pre-sale page. I mean, I could even come up with a bunch of stuff for this page, but for now I'm going to keep it simple. I just want to focus on the pre-sale. Let's see which ads have been running the longest. Filters. Let's scroll down, because if they've been running longer, they're probably working well. So this one has been running since the 15th of June.
I lost my hair bad, like 2 years ago from today. This used to be my hair, yeah. I remember being in that stage of my hair, and the only
behind this scar at one point that managed a hair transplant clinic, and it was like 15 grand. But even going my early with this, it's been a blood treatment at much money every month on these things, because without it was just like they said, it was like a hat with like a bunch of lasers that covered my entire.
So here's how I'm going to structure the rest of this writing session. So first thing I'm going to do is research. So we're going to use ChatGPT to carry out deep research. New project. I'm just going to call it copywriting/funnel projects. Okay, so I just briefed ChatGPT to conduct some research for me while I go and do some manual research. But here's what I wrote, or here's the prompt. So I'm writing cold traffic funnel advertorials for a brand called Kier. Both are owned by the same guy. So this is a hair loss brand. And then I basically just copy and pasted all the context from here. Then I basically included the deliverables and I said, look, before we begin, I need to do research. So I want you to conduct psychographic research on the type of customer that buys from the funnel. What are their pain points? What ads are being ran? What is the science saying? Any new mechanisms or angles? What's their deepest insecurities? Why are they scared of finasteride? This is probably going to take 5 or 10 minutes. So while it's doing that, I'm going to start doing my own research manually. So first thing I'm going to do, and I do this pretty much all the time when I'm writing copy or a new funnel, is go straight to Reddit. So Reddit Kier laser caps. And we're going to do the same for Illumiflow, but they're basically the same brand. So this guy's been using the Kier laser cap for 9 months. In general, these laser caps work. That being said, they tend to look goofy, are expensive, and inconvenient. So that's why finasteride is needed. Bro, people who suggest finasteride are so, like, this is kind of just a side note, but it's so gay. That's why finasteride is needed to address the underlying cause. Because I don't know if you guys know, but like, let's look at Reddit. This is even more research. Finasteride horror story Reddit. Like, you'll see stories of like the worst thing ever. Also, another thing, just a side note, you'll see all the people here are in their early or mid 20s. It's crazy. The watery semen. That's kind of disgusting. I was in a casual relationship with someone and I was really happy with but I would notice that I was never a full 10-10 ready to go physically, even if I was mentally after a couple months. I noticed I stopped thinking about sex as often. I almost had the feeling of more room to think because there was this absence of sexual thoughts. That's fucking scary. I would never take, I mean, I would rather be bald than take finasteride, honestly. And I'm sure a lot of people feel the same because who wants to risk nuking their sex drive and becoming suicidal for the rest of their life? Like, who wants to do that just to maintain hair? Um, and I didn't have that drive to win. Sparring matches in boxing. Yeah, so it basically just nukes your. It's crazy. Didn't want to fight people that cut me off in traffic. Assert myself in arguments even when necessary. The desire to go out and start big projects. Things were just different. If I was never concerned with ever having sex again, it was actually kind of nice to be free of the pictures of it from within. But I do, so I discontinued. After about a month, the sexual health came back, and after a couple, I felt my mental acuity and normal thought patterns return. And that was on 1 mg daily. Interesting. No sides. Lack of sex drive, no morning boners, shit boners, ball ache, relationship killing. Even if I get sides, I just keep going. Otherwise, I go bald. Had sides in beginning, nipple sensitivity, watery semen. That's disgusting. Lowered libido, having sex 1 or 2 times a week. What? This is crazy. Post finasteride syndrome. 19. That's crazy. Imagine taking finasteride at the age of 19. Let's check out post-finasteride syndrome. Post-finasteride syndrome, Reddit. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to make like a research tab. What I'm looking for here is just interesting sentences, customer experiences, etc. that I can copy and paste and leave, put in this research doc, because I'm going to continuously refer to these phrases and sentences when I actually start writing. So, hi everyone, I've been suffering with almost close to zero feeling on the orgasm and my erections are pretty weak and can't maintain for long for 4 to 5 years. I'm 27. Weirdly enough, if I bend my knees while standing up, my erections seem to improve. I think it might be due to something with more blood circulation. That's crazy. I'm going to write that down. I took finasteride 0.5 mg, and that's a small dose. Like, most people are taking 1 mg from what I've seen daily for 1 year, and my first crash happened about 8 months after quitting. And the reason I'm reading about finasteride, by the way, is because this funnel, the client told me it's almost working. And the headline is literally product versus finasteride. And the hidden health risks of finasteride most men never hear about. So like it's okay, but I think we can really drive. One change I want to make in the new advertorials I write is I really want to drive home the bad effects that can be caused by finasteride. So this one looks pretty interesting. My first crash happened 8 months after quitting. Definition. By crash, I mean a period of extreme suffering, severe mental and physical symptoms that make it nearly impossible to get out of bed. Any period where I can still move around and maintain basic daily functions, I define as a stable phase. And this happened yesterday, or this guy posted this yesterday, which is crazy. So, extreme head pressure. So he had a crash 8 months after quitting. Most people crash soon after stopping, but in his case, it came much later. Suicide, panic attacks, weight loss, muscle loss, extreme hunger, low libido, morning wood fluctuates, erectile dysfunction. I'm writing this down. That's mad experience. That's mad crazy. I'm definitely gonna write this down and keep it for later. Interesting. New York Post article. This could be a huge angle. The New York Post evidence is no longer anecdotal. Push to suspend marketing for cosmetic use. A New York Post article indicates finasteride is linked to thoughts of suicide. If I mean, let's check this out, but that's kind of wild because we can use it. This is an angle in and of itself, because the first line, we're all familiar with the side effects of finasteride, blah, 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 blah. But it's not just me saying that. The New York Post, and I don't know how reputable the New York Post is, but regardless, I'm assuming it's a big media company. So yeah, balding might bruise your ego, but your hair loss fix could be messing with your mind. I might even just swipe that. That's a good first line. I'm saving this page. I literally might just, and the thing is, this is why you have to do manual research because AI is not going to pick up on shit like this. And it's not going to know that I can just swipe. You know what I mean? Like that's why humans are still important. And AI is not really, in my opinion, that AI is not that good on its own. You need a good human copywriter. Balding might bruise your ego, but your hair loss fix could be messing with your mind. I like that first line, so I'm going to write research swipes. So I like that line. New research out of Israel, and they even link the research paper. Popular drug for mill. I mean, this might even be a sale. Is this a sales page? No, it's not. One thing about advertorials is the best advertorials look like you're reading a brain rot blog post just like this one. Balding might bruise your ego, but your hair loss fix could ruin your life. Okay, whatever. New research out of Israel. I'm going to just copy and paste this for the swipe section because this is really good. This might make up the lead for my next for the first advertorial I wrote. Also going to save New York Post article. I'm going to try, I think that's a good idea. I'm going to try and find more official blog posts about finasteride. But anyway, I'm going to keep swiping this. In a trial linked to one user's suicide. Wait, who's Bredzies? Bredzies. Who the fuck is Bredzies? This is the doctor who made the study. Okay, but I don't get it. Why is it linking to this study? This study doesn't. I think this is. Oh, the Hebrew University of Jerusalem. That's an official. Fuck me. This is amazing. This is marketing gold. And I don't think that. I've not seen any of the other hair loss brands running angles like this. So, University of Jerusalem article. Fuck, even more stuff for me to swipe here. Brezdis uncovered internal FDA documents reportedly showing that experts recommended adding suicidal thoughts and behavior to the drug's label all the way back in 2010. And they only added that label in 2022. That's crazy. The advice was rejected by the agency without disclosing the internal discussion and the rationale for the final decision. In the Journal of Clinical Psychiatry. Another one. Damn. She's cooking, this Meyer Brezies. Whatever. I don't know how to say her name. She's cooking finasteride. And I'm going to swipe all the stuff she's saying. Potential authority. So, Meyer Brezies, potential authority figure. Someone should partner up with her and release a product, honestly. Don't know if she'd be down for that. Oh, is it a man? Oops, it's a man. I don't know why I said she. He. Science Daily. I think these are all the same, but still. In another internal FDA document from 2010, Brezies said he found large sections blacked out as quote-unquote confidential, including estimates of how many people might be affected by the purported side effects. By 2011, the agency had logged 18 suicides tied to finasteride, but Brezies argues that the actual toll could be thousands worldwide based on the global use of the drug. Pharmacovigilance. What is that? I need to find out what that means. Okay. I even like the ending because it kind of ties it into a pitch pretty well. But let's continue. So I've saved all these links. Let's close them. Let's keep looking through this forum. Complete anhedonia, depression, just absolute nothingness, no response to alcohol, stimulants, caffeine, depersonalization, can't feel music, severe cognitive decline. This is cooking. So I'm going to save this too. It bears mentioning that, okay, wait. This is amazing. Let me move this. Okay. Now I'm just compiling all of the stuff I find interesting in here because later I'm going to feed this to an AI model, which I'm going to show you guys in a minute. And that AI model is going to take all the interesting stuff and include it in the new funnel. And then I'm going to clean it up manually. But you really don't know what you've got till it's gone. It bears mentioning that hair loss is now the absolute least of my concerns. I would let someone pluck each of my individual head hairs out with tweezers one by one and then take a blowtorch to my scalp, cauterizing every follicle if I could have some small semblance of my old life back. I am saving that in the swipe section. That's amazing. Okay, crazy. Now, we've done pretty good market research, I guess. Well, no, we haven't actually. We've only been looking at finasteride, but I'm gonna go back to the product now and actually look at specific products. So I think I have enough to get started. Usually I'll spend a lot more time doing research, but in this case, we already have the unique mechanism. We already have the angle, which is finasteride versus Illumiflow. So there's not much else to do. We just have to start writing and prompting AI. Usually if I'm writing from scratch, then this process might take, 2 to 3 hours, but today it's much shorter. Anyway, the deep research is done. So let's review this. And I'm going to create a new tab here, GPT Deep Research. And I'm going to call this one Manual Research. So let's review this. And then we're going to move on to, we're going to start writing the actual first two funnels. So let's get into it. First thing, the primary customers are men experiencing hair loss. By age 35, 2/3 of men will have some degree of hair loss. It's deeply personal and distressing. It can leave your self-image fractured and lead to anxiety or even depression, with men often too ashamed to discuss their thinning hair. Losing hair at a young age triggers fear of looking older and less attractive, insecure, stages of denial, comparing with peers, dreading the bald look, cut to the core of their identity, pain points. Okay, we already know all of this. This is basics. We already know all of this. One reason the laser cap versus medication funnel is that the target customer harbors significant fears and frustrations with conventional treatments for hair loss. Two of the most common are minoxidil and finasteride. We don't care about minoxidil for now, so let's just focus on finasteride. Finasteride is an oral DHT blocking drug that can be effective for many, but has a notorious reputation. So it seems that a big angle is an ad might show an Illumiflow cap versus a bottle of Rogaine with a headline like Ditch Minoxidil and Finasteride. Tired of side effects, dependency, and monthly costs? I'm going to save this here. Oops. Copy and paste. 2 new pre-sale pages. Okay, so I've come up with 4 advertorials that I like that I or my team wrote in the past. So for advertorial number 1, we're going to start, as I mentioned, by writing the first 2 pre-sale pages for this client. So for advertorial number 1, I kind of want to model it off of this page, but I don't know how well it's going to work because this page is kind of like a story, but we can try it and see what it comes out with. But main thing is I like the headlines. Um, However, the second option is this one. Modeling it off of this could work too. Let me see it. But regardless, the reason I like this page is because we have a clear authority figure on this eczema advertorial. And this is for a completely unrelated product and niche. It's just, I like the format. So we can use the same idea, except with this Mayor Brezis or Brazis. I don't know how to say his name, but the Israeli guy who was making all those blogs and articles and stuff about why are we still ignoring suicide risk, hair loss drug. Uh, we can use him as like the authority figure, like Israeli doctor. I don't know if we want to mention Israeli. We don't want to, get people not buying the product because of their politics or whatever, but PhD doctor from the Middle East says this or whatever. Now, in terms of specific language I want to include, here's what I like for the leads. Balding might bruise your ego, but finasteride could ruin your life. Balding sucks, but I promise you it's the least of your concern. And in terms of, it bears mentioning that hair loss will be the absolute least of your concerns if you end up suffering from side effects. Yeah, I like this. It bears mentioning that that hair loss will be the absolute least of your concerns if you end up suffering from side effects of hair loss drugs. I would, as one Reddit user puts it, body copy / close. So these are some of the swipes I want to include. In terms of structure, lead about finasteride, Israeli doctor. And then I think I saw some copy I liked in this New York Post article when they tie it into the close. So there's another solution. Yes, I like this. Transition into close. Let me make that clear formatting. Okay, so if Findings have you eyeing that bottle of finasteride with suspicion. Don't panic. Your dream of regrowing a full head of hair isn't over yet. There's another solution that's taking the hair loss market by storm. Introduce product plus close. So that's kind of how I can see this being structured. And I like this transition. So how I see this advertorial being structured is we start off with a lead about finasteride and its dangerous effects. Don't make it, writes it human to human. So that's another thing, is we can make it sound human. Balding sucks. Or look, balding might bruise your ego, but finasteride could ruin your life. Like, actually talk like a human. Israeli doctor and his studies mention articles and specific lab studies, and then recall some of the Reddit comments. Also call out that, or point out, because what we want to do is point out that finasteride and other medications don't even work to solve the root problem. They just act as a band-aid solution that you need to subscribe to for the rest of your life, incurring costs as much as $X per month. And that's without mentioning the potential harm to your male health. And then transition into close. I mean, we don't have to make this too long, but that's the structure I want to go with. Now let's prompt or Claude, actually, because I prefer Claude for copy. So what I'm gonna do is, okay, let's go to Claude. All right, so first I'm gonna take all the research documents, save those instructions, and then let's upload some files. So let's upload the manual research, the GPT research. Let's get that in there. Okay, now let's choose what we're gonna model this off of. This is a bit long, but let's do it. This is from my old brand, by the way. We scaled this advertorial to millions, but I'll make a separate video about that. Let's choose this one. Mouth tape advertorial. Let's try and see what happens if we model off of this. Wait. So this is manual research. Swipe some copy I like. GPT deep research. Let's get straight into it. First thing I'm going to do, I'm going to take the existing advertorial. I'm going to copy and paste it like this. And I already have the prompts laid out. So attached, you'll find, and this is like, if you want to deliver a project fast to a really high degree, you can just copy exactly what I'm about to do. So attached, you'll find an advertorial for a laser hair loss cap for men. I want you to analyze it and then tell me X, Y, and Z. Let's try with Opus 4.1 and see what we get. I don't think I've actually used this model before. So what I'm doing right now is I'm coming up with the first draft of the first pre-sale page. I'm going to write that right now in front of you using AI. Probably not going to show you the process of me writing the second one, just because it's going to make this video like 2 hours long. Once that's complete, we're going to go through Copy Chief and edit it, or I might just give it to Thomas, who's my senior copywriter, and have him edit it instead. And once he's edited and Copy Chief that, or I've done it, whatever, we're also going to go and CRO the existing page and come up with a bunch of tests for the client. So now this is the second prompt. Okay, great. Now I'm going to upload a sales page for an unrelated product and market. And we are going to use mouth tape, an advertorial for an unrelated product and market. The main reason I'm sharing is because I want you to analyze the structure. Then after that, I'm going to have you model off of this mouth tape page as you write a similar style page for Illumiflow's laser hair loss cap. Okay, prompt. And then the third one. And yeah, this was my old ecom brand. You can check Noctibio, Trustpilot. Yeah, we had a 4.1 on Trustpilot, to be honest. It was actually, and these are all real reviews. I can tell you for a fact, with my ecom brand, we never faked reviews. All real. We did get a lot of 1 stars, but it was usually just related to customer support. It was never about the product itself. But anyway, we'll let it continue analyzing. And then I'm going to start loading up this final prompt so we can start getting the copy out. So great, thank you. Now I want you to help me write a new sales page for Illumiflow, a new advertorial for Illumiflow's hair loss laser cap. You can follow the structure of the mouth tape advertorial, the Illumiflow product that you reviewed the advertorial for. Why can't you make stuff italic? Okay, important in the project files. Now I'm going to include some stuff about the project files because this is important. What did I include? GPT deep research. I've included 3 PDFs for you to refer to while writing this hair loss advertorial. I want you to review each of those 10 times and then begin writing the page following the new Illumiflow advertorial page, following the structure and tonality of the Noctivio page. Here's an idea for a lead. I want to feed it my ideas. Here is some specific language you can think about including lead option 1, lead option 2, and then I also want potential structure Claude, Meg, Dr. Mayor Brezi's The Authority. We are not affiliated with him, so do not paint it that way. Here's his articles and publications. All right, I kind of made it a super long brief, but I wanted to include all the information. And I've been using this specific prompt for like over a year and a half now. So I'm sure adding all this extra information, Claude's new model should be able to handle it without messing it up. So let's see. Advertorial 1, draft 1, new advertorial 1. Okay, here's the initial section it gave us. Trending. The pill that grew hair is now being linked to depression, suicide, and sexual dysfunction. Israeli researchers sound the alarm. I like it. Good first headline. Discover the shocking truth about finasteride that has discovered the left side shows a bottle of finasteride pills with a red one. I don't know if I like that lead. Let's see how it looks with the lead I came up with. Balding might bruise your ego, but I promise you, see, the side effects, the devastating effects caused by modern hair loss medication is a documented, modern. Just like you, I was desperate. Every time I looked in the mirror, I saw my hairline creeping backwards. I saw the light reflecting directly off of my scalp, and I felt my confidence. This is what we call the rule of 3, by the way. When you list like 3 things in a row. The guy who created Agora, Michael Masterson, he wrote about this. With every shower, I felt my confidence slipping away with every strand that I'd find on my pillowcase or in the shower. Strand of hair I lost. The initial shed. The reason I mentioned this, by the way, is because in Reddit or on Reddit, on a lot of the forums, people mention that when you first start taking finasteride, your hair will shed, especially in the beginning. Amends. Yeah, let's take this screenshot directly from here. Or let's take multiple screenshots, actually. Let's just stack up the proof. And you know what's crazy? This is brand new research that's coming out, like October 13, 2025. So we already know that like all the other brands are not running this. So, I mean, I'm assuming they aren't running any sort of angles like this simply because most of them probably aren't reactive enough or good enough copywriters to think to do something like this. Because in today's day and age, everybody's just farming copy. Well, I mean, I'm doing it right now, but everyone's farming copy with AI and it just, which is good. But as you can see, like, okay, I've been using AI to help me, but if I wasn't naturally a good copywriter and I didn't understand the principles of direct response and cold traffic copywriting, this whole thing would be 10 times more shit. It's the human touch that really allows you to succeed. It's not that you farm it out to AI and that's it. Let's take more screenshots and social proof. Yes. Oops. And one more just for good measure. Bullet points, which means over 2 decades of warnings were ignored while millions of prescriptions were written. Oh, this is actually this advertorial is kind of fire. I need to change it. So I'm going to make comments on stuff I need to change. Come on, better. Because the image on the top of the advertorial can make a huge difference. So I don't think this is powerful enough. Let's delete that. Another thing with copy is you want to be really brutal. So you need to question the existence of every single sentence in your copy. And this is just a general point I want to make as well. When you are writing an offer or doing any sort of sales, less is more. And you need to be concise. And I'm not saying you should make it short or not long. I'm not talking length doesn't matter. It's about the message and how concise you can be. And one really important habit you need to adopt as a copywriter is brutally analyzing whether or not a sentence in your sales process needs to exist. So this sentence here, see, it's not just paranoia. I don't think this needs to exist because it doesn't change anything when I remove it. In fact, it just gets to the point even faster, which is good, which is better. So I'm going to delete that. This is such a good advertorial. AI is insane. Like, this is so good. This is Pavel Durov before and after. I think we take this. Let's see how this goes. So that's when I started noticing an odd trend. So the thing I was saying just now is, so far we've told the reader about finasteride. I've made notes to change the images here and make them more powerful or whatever, or just think about them. So we've spoken about finasteride. We've included some social proof, authority figure, which is that Israeli doctor, bullet points. I also probably want to get some bullet points up here. And then we quote the Reddit forum, and we might put a screenshot of the Reddit forum there, even if you're one of the lucky ones. And this is important. So, in the beginning of the advertorial, we talk about the health risks, the social proof, the studies, etc. Then we talk about the Reddit thread and, someone who suffered from finasteride, post-finasteride syndrome. And then we mentioned, but look, it gets worse, because even if you're one of the lucky few who avoid the side effects, finasteride comes with a cruel catch. You're enslaved for life, which I think is a very important point, because we have to bring up the financial requirement and daily compliance and might stop working. So it's like a lifetime subscription, so we basically just paint it as like, this is a horrible option. As one doctor put it, it's like putting a band-aid on a severed artery while slowly poisoning the patient. That's when I started noticing an odd trend. I kept seeing successful guys, CEOs, celebrities, athletes with suspiciously perfect hair. That's why I've included this picture of Pavel Durov, because he is a prime example of, he probably just got he might be wearing a wig, probably got a hair transplant, whatever, but he did something, right? But they weren't talking about pills or medication. Instead, whispers about some kind of red light technology kept surfacing. Even stranger, hair restoration. Oh, I already know what we're going to do for a split test here. So this section is transition to close, number 1. And we're going to make a split test for this entire section where we just delete this section and use this instead. I'll show you guys what I mean in a sec, but they weren't talking about pills or medication. Instead, whispers about some kind of red light technology kept surfacing. Even stranger, hair restoration clinics were quietly switching the recommendation. Delete that, because why were doctors moving away from the drugs they put for decades? Not true. They weren't. And that kind of contradicts the entire point of this advertorial, so delete that. Desperate, balding. I went down the research rabbit hole. Countless medical, all confirm back in the 1960s, NASA discovered something remarkable: red, white light wavelengths. Now, that same being used to reactivate dormant hair follicles without drugs, without side effects, and without the nightmare stories. Okay, so this is where we're at so far. Now let's tell, and this isn't even the whole advertorial, so let's tell Claude to continue. Please continue. Now remember, this is draft number 1. How many words is this so far? We're at 900 words as well, which is perfect. Also, Elon Musk. Fuck, we need to include this. No, but it's got watermark Elon Musk. Now, again, another thing is, from a compliance perspective, I'm not outright saying that these celebrities and billionaires used red light. Just putting the pictures there kind of creates that association for the readers. Okay, so this is the rest of the advertorial. Perfect. I actually really like how this turned out. It turned out better than I expected, but we still need to do a lot of editing. So where were we? So this part is pretty much edited. Also, this is important. A GIF, animation. Your hair can grow back without destroying your life. Did she actually say that? Or did ChatGPT? Yeah, Claude just made that shit up. I'm going to delete this. We don't need all of that. Introducing the... But what does it say on the page? Laser light hair loss cap with before after to try something different. Manufactured in America, not some distant, some faraway Chinese factory. Okay, sorry, I haven't been talking. I've just been locked in writing this funnel, but one purchase, no monthly fees, no lifetime dependency. Here's what other Illumiflow users are saying. I'm just going to put insert 5 to 10 testimonials before after. Oh no, insert 3 testimonials with before after pictures, and maybe Reddit Kier laser caps. Let's see if we can find some real reviews on Reddit to improve. No, it needs to be for Illumiflow actually, because it's a different brand name and that might cause confusion. We'll put a CTA here as well. Okay, I actually really like how this first one turned out. What I'm going to do now is we're going to leave a comment. Transition number 1. And then what I want to do is see as a split test, I guess. It's 2,000 words. Yeah, if we remove that whole section and just put this new advertorial number 1 B. Okay, and this is going to be advertorial number 1 A. So I'm gonna, oh my fucking god, I keep doing the same shit. Okay, put that here. Now what we are going to do is, that's when I started noticing an odd trend all the way until it's time to try something different. So that's when I started noticing an odd trend. Delete that. And then we're going to take this red light diode medical grade red light therapy. Let's just do that. This can be kind of a big test. Okay, so transition number 2. Let's find it. Okay, so this can be a test that the client runs. Now let me just clean this up, add a bunch of headline split tests, and make it a final draft. All right, so finally, we finished up with the advertorial, the 2 pre-sale pages. What I'm going to do now is just run you through them, and then we're going to go and do the final part of the final deliverables. So first advertorial. First, one thing I did is I came up with some notes for the designer / developer on this page, because you have, if you want to deliver a successful cold traffic project, you have to really break it down for the client. And honestly, if you really want to succeed, the client should put you on a retainer or a percentage of spend or a commission deal, and you should be working closely with their media buying team to like basically analyze data and choose winners. So, but anyway, we'll go through these. We'll go through these in a minute. What I want to do now is just read you through the page. So we got 4 headlines. First one, trending: the pill that grew hair is now being linked to depression, suicide, and sexual dysfunction. Israeli researchers sound the alarm. Let's just put researchers. Second headline, Illumiflow versus finasteride. So that's basically the same one they have right now. May as well test the same one. New FDA warnings, 2025 study exposes hidden dangers. Let's remove 2025. It makes it too long. And the drug-free solution that actually works. Groundbreaking research from Dr. Meyer Brezis reveals from... Is Meyer Brezis a PhD, by the way? MPH. Okay, whatever. Reveals why thousands of men are abandoning finasteride for safer alternative. Warning: popular hair loss pill linked to permanent sexual dysfunction, depression, and suicide. New study confirms what men feared most. Researchers exposed 20 plus years of hidden dangers, while 100,000 men discover a safer way to regrow hair without risking their mental health. I don't know if we can actually mention suicide with Facebook compliance. Let's be on the safe side and remove that. And then headline number 4, how 100,000 plus men are regrowing hair without the devastating side effects of finasteride. FDA cleared technology changes everything. And then the subheading here is, while new research links the popular hair pill to depression and sexual dysfunction, smart men are turning to NASA discovered light therapy for real results. And then we'll have an image. The lead: balding might bruise your ego, but I promise you, it's the least of your concerns when you're dealing with the side effects of hair loss medication. Modern hair loss medication is destroying the life of thousands of men who just wanted their hair back. Just like you, I was desperate. Every time I looked in the mirror, blah, 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 I turned to the gold standard, finasteride. Every single morning, I popped that little pill hoping to see new results. The initial shed came in strong. I seemed to be losing more hair than ever, but I kept pushing. And that wasn't even the worst part. As I later found out, finasteride is creating a men's health crisis. The evidence: I would let someone pluck each hair out with tweezers and blowtorch my scalp if I could have my old life back. That's an actual quote after finasteride destroyed him. But it gets worse. That's when I started noticing a trend. So basically, we're trying to insinuate that these billionaires and stuff are using red light. Countless medical studies. Here's how the red light works. We have an animation here, which is super important. If it's a good animation, it will definitely help. Time to try something different. So this is the first transition. So here we have a transition where we basically talk about the product, how red light works, how you can grow your hair back with red light, and we haven't mentioned the product yet. Then we say it's time to try something different. After months of research, I kept coming back to one name, Illumiflow. They had everything I was looking for. By month 3, even my barber noticed. 6 months in, and I'm a different person. That's when you throw in a before after image. I spent less than I would have on a year of finasteride, and then check availability, and then split your payment with Klarna. One final thought. Boom. So it's advertorial B. This is the same advertorial, except this is variation B. The only difference in variation B is the transition. So this, and I'm going to make a Loom video for the client so it's super clear, but that needs to be tested. So let's run through the notes I left for the designer and dev. So on the current page they have here, they have a sticky CTA. So that needs to be split tested. Sticky versus non-sticky. And what sticky means is that this thing, this box right here with the claim offer now, it just stays there the whole time. Usually that will also, we need to include frequently asked questions, but I'll make a link video. They can just copy these ones. These, like, this might increase your click-through rate, but it won't necessarily make the funnel more profitable, because if your click-through rate is much higher, usually the buyer intent is lower. Split test one thing at a time. Whether it's an image change, headline change, this is very necessary. You can/should host this funnel in a software like Funnelish for easy testing, but up to you. The core difference between Advertorial A and Advertorial B is the transition to the close and length. I've left a comment on the document to highlight it on both pages. Test both variations with the only variable being the transition. Testing cadence. So I also came up with a cadence for how they should test. First test they should run is just Advertorial A versus Advertorial B using headline 1. The only difference here will be the transition. So once they've done that test, choose a winner after each page gets, like, we can even make it lower, like 200 to 500 unique visits. Second, take the winning advertorial from Advertorial A and Advertorial B and create 4 variations based on these headlines. So basically take the winning advertorial from A and B and then test 4 variations of the headlines. After that, choose a winner, kill the losers, and then you have, a single winner. Then take the winning variation of the headline test and then test having a sticky call to action versus a non-sticky call to action. And then the fourth thing they want to test is this first image right here, which I'll let the client choose because obviously they have all their images. After following the above 4 tests, the client's either going to have a profitable funnel, so now they just need to scale and test more ad creatives, and more split testing on the funnel, a near profitable funnel, or an utter failure, which means back to the drawing board. Now, the thing with Meta, because they're running Meta traffic, on Meta, you really have to be testing creative so much. And if they aren't testing enough, then the chances of success are quite slim. So I'm making that very clear. However, if the client chooses to run traffic on like Taboola or Outbrain, it's much less reliant on creative and way more on the funnel. So that would be my only suggestion. And that's why I kind of prefer running traffic on Taboola and Outbrain, because you don't have to test creative as much and it's way more consistent and you can just run traffic to the same funnel. The problem with Meta is, like, let's say you have a winning VSL or a winning ad on Facebook, and then you run traffic to that winning ad and you scale it. Eventually, Facebook's going to realize, oh shit, this guy can afford, this guy is this profitable because, he has a winning ad set with a cost to acquire a customer of, I don't know, $150. And the AOV on his funnel that he's running through Funnelish is $150, which means he's making $100 profit on each sale. So let's just raise the price and make his ad perform shitter and increase the price. Like, that's how Meta works. That's how their algorithm works. They'll recognize that, oh, you're spending a lot on this ad. Let's increase the price because you can afford to spend X amount. Whereas on Taboola and Outbrain, it doesn't really work like that. If you have a winning ad, then all you need to do is just drive traffic to that ad, get them to click through the funnel, and then just keep split testing the funnel. And then when you have a winner, it's just going to be super consistent. That CPA on the front end, the cost you pay to acquire a customer, is not going to fluctuate as much on Taboola Outbrain as it is on Meta. So that's really important to keep in mind. Now, this is completely finished. This is the final draft. What I'm going to do is share this with the client, but I'm also going to go ahead and CRO this page for the client. But I'm not going to film that because, that's honestly a pretty boring process. So yeah, I'm going to share this with the client, and hopefully I'll have an update for you guys in 1 or 2 months once it's launched and ideally scaled. All right, so that's it. The funnel is complete, or the advertorial, I should say, is complete. And it really is that simple. AI makes everything so much easier, so I hope you found that valuable. And yeah, I'll keep you guys updated on, how the funnel performs over time. If you want to learn more in the meantime, just click the link in the description and start reading my daily emails, because I talk about copy and swipes and AI prompts literally every single day. And yeah, go sign up. Link is in the description.